I would call April 13th Transit Committee meeting to order. We have everyone present. Approval of minutes. Motion's been made and seconded by Brian and Darren. Any session? All in favor? Aye.
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 Public hearing, none. None for the chair. Staff reports on Austin.
All right, good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Agenda for today, we'll talk about ridership, financials, electric bus update, current staffing around the shop, around the buses, and on the route, followed by any questions. It was a good month. Doorstop and Red Cedar ridership increased from 474 in February up to 593 in March, up 25%. And looking back at even the month before, up another 10% in February compared to January. You add those together, and that's pretty big step forward. Community route ridership decreased from 875 in February to 746 in March, but also that includes a week where Stout wasn't in session during spring break. And then if you look from February back to January, it was 61% up, but that's when Stout was mostly in session through February and only a week in January. Stout ridership didn't decrease much with the warmer temps in March compared to February, down from 793 a day average down to about 687, only down about 100 riders between the days in March compared to February. So that was good to see. Financials, expenses through 3 months so far. The only outstanding big bills yet to come are the February and March staffing bills, both around 20,000. If you add those into the current expenses, we'd be sitting at about 23% to the good through 3 months. The other thing up in the top right, call from Wcha yesterday. With the CARES funding that came in that covered our expenses in the FTA money at 100% last year through CARES funding. Last year in the 85-21 grant, we got around 120,000 for our specialized transportation that in a normal year can be used as local match, but can't last year with CARES funding covering 100%, which put us 150,000 to 160,000 to the good last year. So we need to make a decision, reach out to Sarah with this call coming in yesterday afternoon. I haven't been able to dive too far into it, but whatever the best option is, either make it into a contra expense, which just takes it off of the revenue for the year, or if we're able to put it away into a trust fund, as he stated. Electric bus update. I met with XL Energy at Transit a few weeks ago. We walked through an updated plan for the new chargers. These new chargers, the conduit that comes into them actually comes up from underneath. So instead of it previously coming from the back of the charger, coming up underneath, creates a little more work. You have to saw out the concrete and come up through the ground. So we walked through that, and this is straight from Wcha. For the added work here, we would be looking at around $4,200 to the original estimate. The saw cut and removal and repouring about 2 inches up from the existing slab elevation. And then this is what the west wall is kind of penciled in to look like at transit. You have the two walk-in doors on the west side on the ends. The big 60 kilowatt charger about a third of the way on the left side would be right by the left driver's door of that bus, because that charger would come in right above the front left wheel. 200 amp surface box there, and then the 30 kilowatt wall mount charger by the northwest wall there, right by the HVAC system. So that was good to actually see it in person, or a mock-up with talking through it in person with him. There will be 2 bollards, I think, on each. So we have a little more protection for $300 that covers these chargers. Again, all of the work for the facility is paid at 90/10 by WSDOT and 10% paid by us. And that was approved for this extra cost as well by Steve from WSDOT. So good news there. Staffing. We have a few weeks left of our full schedule, and then we will go down for the summer schedule, down from 5 routes down to 3. But currently we have an operations supervisor, John, 6 drivers. Currently we are losing our main 4-night-a-week stout PM driver at the end of the semester. He's just fully retiring, and 3 dispatchers and 2 are drivers. So we will look to probably add another one here coming July or August. And then pretty soon here, after in the second week of May through August, we'll go down from our 5 routes down to 3. So we're really tight where we're at right now, but it's a balancing act all the time through the semester. You can't get enough help, and in the summer, you don't have enough hours for everyone. So I'd rather, hop in a bus for a few hours, a few days a week if needed, than coming soon here, we lose people because we don't have enough hours. So with that cross training that comes in with the dispatchers and drivers, that helps too. Each driver is a little more quiet on the radio after they dispatch for a day, and the driver's asking them to switch everything around to the route to their liking. So it works out well this way. Around the shop, a few housekeeping things that we dealt with. We had a leaky pressure washer head. We tried to rebuild the one we had. We just went to Ace and bought a new gun part of the wand. And then our wireless remote soap function wasn't working. We tried to rebuild that. It didn't work. So we had to get a new remote. And this last month, we've been working on trying about 4 or 5 different soaps to see which one cut the best and not leave water spots. So stuff that'll cut it without having to physically brush the bus unless it's really dirty saves time, and that in turn saves money. Around the buses, currently one of our big stout buses, these random gremlins that a few of these have, the blinkers weren't working only on high, the blinkers weren't working at all, but the hazards were, and the wipers were only working on high mode. We did as much troubleshooting as we could, and that one's going to Northtown on Friday. 316, only the left rear running lights won't working, but the right side is daisy chained from the left to get its power. So that was a bit of a project, and our ops soup guy, John, fixed that for us. And 317, the bus on the right, finally got dropped off. I dropped it off last Thursday, and hopefully it's done in June here. On the route, it's spring holiday, Monday the 18th for stout. So we will only have 3 routes that day. So the drivers out at this one rider's house have been cutting the corner and creating some ruts. So we're going to have a field trip out there and fix that up for them on Monday afternoon. So I might ask you for a load of black dirt on the way out there. That's what I have today for that. Any questions?
As far as the chargers, since you gotta come up from underneath, would it be possible just to elevate the chargers on the outside of the building and still go through the wall so you don't have to do the saw cutting and stuff? Or is that, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And maybe it's not possible, not knowing how the configuration of the chargers.
Right,
I'm just thinking that we could save on saw cutting.
right.
Just a thought.
Yeah. I'll ask them.
Mr. Chair,
Oh, go ahead.
I have a question Mr. Witt, if I may. What's the deal on, maybe you're not aware of this either, but I noticed in the Senex and Colfax about a bus going from Eau Claire to Chippewa. What's that deal? Do you know anything about that?
I do not, but I can,
Well, I just heard about it, and they, of
Yeah.
course, like everybody else, they want drivers, but I'm just wondering if you had heard anything about it.
I have not.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Darren.
Just want to clarify, when you go down to the 3 routes, obviously the Stout route is one of, what's the other one that goes down in the summer?
Stout PM.
Stout PM. Oh,
Sorry, Stout PM, and then Community Saturday normally.
Okay.
So yeah, any student also through the summer will have the community route to ride as well.
okay, and I just feel like it's like tradition. Any new, you talked about the Charge A news about the actual bus, and then I know you're actually more worried about the chargers coming in after the buses, so. You probably have nothing, and I get that.
Both, I have a better timeline on the chargers, I believe the next 60 days. When talking to Xcel Energy, they want, and we want to install them both in one day, and they think they can get it done in one day. So that was good feedback to hear. I haven't had any updated news about the bus timeline since we talked last. But they said that they were going to ship them out to Altoona there a couple weeks after we talked to them in March. So hopefully I have an update next meeting for everybody.
And last thing, I maybe could shed some light on the bus where you just said Eau Claire at Chippewa. I just have some Jefferson bus lines were running in Menominee, and they closed up operations for that route January 1. It was subsidized by the DOT. The DOT worked with Coach USA or Wisconsin Coach Lines, and part of redoing that route is the DOT wanted them at Chippewa. So they go Minneapolis, Menominee, Eau Claire, Chippewa, and then all stops between all the way to Green Bay and then to Milwaukee. So if you want to go to Milwaukee from here, 7 hours and 35 minutes later, and I think $42 one way, you'd get there. So, but that started April 1st. So then their stop is the Stout Library.
Go ahead, Dave.
The grant that we had with economic development that you were partnering with them. I haven't heard anything about that, and I just don't want it to be forgotten and end up costing the county some money, because I think there was some things started on that. That was that commute from work to home. And I realized that we lost the economic development director that wasn't involved in that, and the new one hasn't been too involved at all. But I just hate to see the county end up hooked, something happened when that grant runs out and nothing ever happened and we took some money and what happens with it. I think somebody should look into that before I'm gone or after.
Who's the new director?
Bob Bassani has been the director of economic development, but he isn't. His priorities are different than Eric's was.
Yeah, it was called Commute to Careers. grant.
Yeah, that's what it was. Yeah.
Yeah, they obviously got extension after Eric died, and then I think they got an extension with COVID, but it's a sizable grant. I think it was like $250,000.
It was, and I believe that they did use some of the money already for some surveys and whatever.
gonna say,
I would
yeah.
just, I don't know. I just think somebody should stay on top of that. And it's one thing that I've been wondering about, and I won't be here to wonder about it anymore. So I'm not gonna, after today, I won't worry about it.
Yeah, I
It's
know
up
they
to you
did
guys.
some of the survey development work and talked to some of the community partners about extending it further. And I think that was the last I heard of it.
Right.
Good questions. Anything else?
Then, and thank you to all the members here that Robin is stepping down and any other members. Thank you for your time on the Transit Commission. It's been a year and 2 months doing these presentations. So thank you.
If I,
Yeah, I was gonna say.
if I might, the city is waiting, I believe, for someone to request a city appointee to the Transit Commission. So I think you'll need to check in with Lowell and Randy and ask them to appoint someone.
I was just gonna ask you the process of that. So yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing I had been meaning to follow up on, and
And Austin can do that. Just reach out to the city.
I think so.
Oh. Okay. Oh, men's. Yeah. Oh, gosh, I didn't even.
I think we need 2 or 3 with Robin gone. We need at least 1 more and possibly 2 to fill out.
You have anything else, Austin? That was it?
Yeah, but since she's not on city council anymore, I'm not sure if she. Okay.
All right. That's it for staff reports. Nothing else on action. Nothing for the county board. I guess we can adjourn the transit committee. Nice to see these people. Jeez.
Yeah.
Thanks, Austin.
Good job.
You are. All right then, with transit adjourned, I will go ahead and call the highway committee meeting to order. Minutes can show that all members are present, plus county board chair Dave Bartlett. That moves us to approval of the minutes.
Seconded.
Motion by Prochnow, second by Maves to approve the minutes. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Public comment, we are back in person. Nobody is here. I think we are clear there. Items placed at the request of the chair, agricultural impact statement program. You want to just fold that into the commissioner's report, just an update on that? All right, then over to you.
Well, good morning, everybody. So yeah, we'll just go over that agricultural impact statement. So this got sent to from basically the DOT to each county facility, just basically requiring a agricultural impact statement for any type of purchased lands for any construction projects. So the caveat to that is this is only required if we have an impact land purchase from a agricultural piece of land in excess of 5 acres or more. That is the only reason why we would have to do this. I've spoken to some of our engineering firms that have done some of our construction projects in the past. They've been doing this already. So it's nothing new, I guess. It's just making it known that we as a county entity are responsible if we're going outside of any type of DOT project and purchasing right away without the DOT's knowledge of the project. So like I said, nothing new. It's a pretty simple procedure. Just go online and fill out this impact statement and they basically sign off on it. So no additional costs to the county to do that. Yep. We'll go into just our daily operations at Highway. So obviously, we continue to sweep our roadways to get all the excess sand that we put down in the winter months. We started that process. We did bring our spray patch trucks out of hibernation to start trying to do a better job of filling our potholes. Obviously, anytime we put cold mix in, rains, moisture pops right back out. So we're trying to get these trucks out sooner than later. That it's just more of a, I wouldn't say it's a permanent repair, but it's it lasts longer than our current cold mix. So we did get that going. We're picking litter in the ditches. There's plenty of that to go around, finding tires and appliances, you name it, we're finding it. So continue to do that. We just started reclaiming our gravel shoulders. I don't know if you've seen any of that operation started. Taking our graders and tractors and trying to bring that gravel back up to the roadway. We are monitoring our spring thaw. This weather that we had last night, I think really helped it with the thunder and lightning. And we are finding spots where we do have frost yet. And that was as of, well, yesterday. Varies from 2 foot down to nothing. So we are monitoring that, getting a lot of phone calls from when are we going to remove our spring weight restrictions. And I joke every time somebody calls me, I add a week. So we're into 2023 for removing them. That's kidding aside. But we are looking at traditionally 4 to 6 weeks for our spring thaw weight restrictions. And we are currently on our 4th week right now when we implemented it. So we're probably going to see the next week or 2 here, possibly taking those off. Some of the shop operations, we started bringing in our summer equipment, such as our dozers, backhoes, rollers, all that fun equipment that just get everything looked at and make sure it's operational before construction season starts. We are going to be starting to remove some of our plow equipment off these trucks, such as like the wings in particular. Because right now we don't need to be using wings, otherwise we'll be doing a lot of damage to our equipment and shoulders. So that'll be starting the process. Staff, we did have our one staff member that resigned, our secretarial position in our front office. She resigned just over a week ago. She went to a different, actually the Ellsworth Creamery just down the road for basically her background was financial and she wanted to do financial duties instead of more of the secretarial duties. So I wished her the best of luck. So currently I'm looking at working with an administration and HR to possibly fill that or have internal staff kind of help out with highway as well. So we did actually have one mechanic position hired officially yesterday. The individual accepted our offer, which is good. It's been approximately well over 6 months to try to find a mechanic. The individual is a background is mechanic, a GM certified mechanic, not a heavy diesel mechanic. But right now, like I said, we're looking for a mechanic, having that mechanical knowledge and expertise and learn as we go type of thing with the big equipment. So right now he's looking at starting May 2nd, pending a drug and alcohol screening and physical. So looking to have that one position filled there. The other position that I have extended an offer to was for my old position, the engineering position. I have offered an individual that position. Currently no acceptance right now. They are currently reviewing the offer and the benefit package that Dunn County offers. So I'm hoping to have that solidified here by May as well. That basically concludes just the everyday operations. Any questions?
One quick question. With the litter pickup, I know Dave was concerned that with closing the solid waste facility, we'd be getting more of that. Does this year look worse, do you think, or?
I would say traditionally, we always see an uptick in the spring. Obviously tires, everybody does their spring cleaning, it seems like, and yes, we've always had that. I can't say that it's been more or less with solid waste closing. So.
I just want to mention that I talked to the chair of New Haven, Mr. Prestrud, and he said, how come Dustin's so hard-headed on this on the road bans? I said, "Oh, it'll be all right." And he said, yeah, it'll be all right. But he was kind of complaining. I don't know if he wanted to get some manure out or whatever, but he was fine with it. I'll give you credit. You didn't back down. So
There was a very large operation that has hauled way up by the south of Prairie Farm that I dug in deep and I just said, no, we're not giving any exemptions. And I think that kind of stirred up some controversy up there. But they have wrecked that road in the past and no compensation. So it's told them they can haul divisible loads, and if they didn't like it, then they can find a different county, I guess. So as far as I know, they did not show up this year.
No, he said they stayed away.
So
I drove up through there. I haven't seen him this year like I've seen him in the past. Like I said, they were always.
But you mentioned no compensation. We've been told in the past that there was compensation, was there not?
So I was always under the impression too that there was a contract signed with this particular company that they would pay for 50% of any damages that were occurred. I do not believe that ever happened.
Thank you. And I guess I'll comment on the stuff in the ditches. I don't think we've seen much worse than we ever did either. So I think my fears didn't happen, which I'm glad of. Although in our township, we did we do have a dumpster there once a month for a weekend, and it's not regulated. And we've sent stuff out to all our residents that only garbage can go in there. And we get more than garbage. So I don't know if it's people outside our township that know it's there, or if could very easily be our residents aren't following the rules either, but they do know that if it gets too bad, it'll go away and then they'll have to go privately, but that I think has helped some.
Perfect. Well, we'll move on to the project updates. So obviously the big project that I'd like to talk about is our County Road B project that is still scheduled for next year in 2023. We've had both of these projects were actually separated into two different projects from I-94 South and then I-94 North. We were trying and hoping the DOT would combine these due to the traffic impact. The unfortunate thing is due to the funding source, it is not allowed. So the project on B south of the interstate has federal funding. The portion to the north has state funding. We can't combine the two. So I've looked at other options. Obviously, the costs have exponentially increased due to the pandemic and the rate of inflation currently. So I have been in particular speaking with the DOT staff of how we can potentially drum up more money or look at other means. We do have an option of trying to at least put the portion to the north into that BIL funding. I did speak with Dan Federley regarding it, and he highly suggested, I guess his recommendation is we wouldn't pursue that due to the needs of other projects that we would potentially want to get, or a lot of need inside the state in general. We do have a grant for the portion to the north of the interstate in the amount of $1 million. Right now, that project cost is approximately 2.4 million. So we would be on the hook for $1.4 million just for that portion of that project. The project to the south has ballooned from 4.5 million to 6 million. We're on the hook for 80-20 match on that. So basically we'd be on the hook for about $2 million of that project, roughly. With that being said, there's, like I said, approximately just over $3 million in one project on County Road B. We obviously were talking ARPA funds, this utilization. I do have a meeting with Beata and Nick regarding this project increase and the possibility of utilizing ARPA funds for that to help offset the cost on the increase on this project. The unfortunate thing is these are estimated costs. We don't know what it's going to be when this project is let. Right now, the project is scheduled for a February let of 2023, and we could see numbers come in dramatically lower. We don't know. So the best thing we can do right now is go off the estimated costs by the engineering firm that has completed the design. So like I said, it's a work in progress. We're looking at additional funding. I am looking at the possibility of using Lrip funds for this project as well. So that's basically on the DOT's plate for review. So I just wanted you to be aware that is a very, very large project happening, scheduling next year. The real estate acquisitions, I have solicited bids for consultant to perform the real estate acquisitions on behalf of the county. I will be speaking later on behalf of that later for approval on that. But I think it's going to be a process. Obviously, we have a lot of commercial property out there. We did put some turn lanes in by Quick Trip, just going southbound. So we will need to purchase some right away from Quick Trip. We will, the Quilling farm out there, we will have to purchase right away from Quillings. There is a little piece from Walmart as well, just with our slopes and stuff. Cost wise, I don't know what it's going to be until we get the real estate acquisition started on what commercial property is going for. And it's very small segments. It's not like 5 acres of land we're buying. It could be 1/10 of an acre from Quick Trip and stuff like that. So that process has started. I'm waiting on behalf of the DOT to approve basically the 90% plans, so we can get the real estate acquisition started. So that has been submitted to the DOT, waiting for their approval, and then to the county's approval after that. That's basically all I have right now on the County Road B project, but the big thing is I just wanted everybody to aware that the costs are exponentially going up. And we're looking at any means possible to help offset the cost increase with extra DOT funding. So
Is the city involved in any of that?
the city is not. There was an agreement back in the day that the city put money into when it went from 2 lanes to 4 lanes. And the county was responsible for any construction, upgrades, maintenance, everything outside of when it was put to 4 lanes. So everything on that is county.
So even the intersections, the
So-
updates, lights, I mean, that
So
city can't.
we're on the hook for everything there. The intersection by Loves, we have spoken to the city of Menominee regarding how we're matching in. Do we stop short of Loves entrance, or do we go further back to accommodate the truck traffic that's there? They are currently looking into that, if they want to help offset that cost. Right now, what's planned is we are going to stop short of the entrance, and we're only doing basically what the county needs to build that section of B.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate. Like I said, the costs keep going up with that, in particular concrete costs. That is what's proposed to be out there is concrete pavement instead of the asphalt pavement, just due to the truck traffic. The railroad on the north half is a very large increase due to that configuration. We are not paying for the railroad upgrades. That's all they're doing. The lights, the cross arms, all that installation is railroad's responsibility, and we are not paying for that. But the biggest thing is just the materials. The concrete material costs have exponentially increased dramatically. Asphalt's same thing. So we're in the worst time right now for receiving any type of bids on any type of construction materials. So who knows, maybe at the end of this year, maybe things will improve. We don't know.
So the north part is going to be in 2024 though, right?
So right now, both projects are let in 2023.
Oh, they are. Okay.
Yeah, so we're looking at the north half being let in January and the south half being let in February. We are hoping for the same contractor to get both projects due to the traffic configuration being interweaved into both projects. So that was our big concern with DOT, and that's why we wanted to join them into one project, and unfortunately that got shot down. The north half of the interstate was supposed to happen in 2022. Due to the railroad entity there, that was a delay. That took a process to go through all the legalities and the paperwork involving the railroad, and it got pushed off a year. So both projects are scheduled for 23.
There's gonna be stoplights though by Love's and exit 45 is what the project.
Love's intersection will have stoplights. It will be synced to the railroad.
Right.
So people will be restricted to be able to obviously go if there's a railroad. They may be able to still turn left. We're still working the kinks out of that. There will be all new signal lights at Quick Trip as well. There currently is signal lights there, but we're just upgrading those. There is all new lighting going in down the median of County Road B. The city has had some problems. So the city does a maintenance contract, verbal maintenance contract, which we're looking at getting in writing. They maintain the signal lights and the street lights down the median. So they're having issues with some of the lights not coming on. So they do believe there's a wiring issue somewhere. They've tried to troubleshoot it many times and they can't figure out what's going on, I guess. So like I said, we're looking at trying to get a written agreement with the city, and they are open to it with doing the maintenance of these signal lights. I guess the other projects that we've scheduled for this year is our County Road Q project north of 170, just by Downing there. There's just over a mile of stretch of roadway that we have not completed from 64 all the way to 170. So we're looking at completing that as soon as the frost comes out of the ground. We're going to be jumping on that project right away. That is part of our ARPA funded project. So that we're tracking that very well. Finance and highway will be on top of the whole ARPA funding and tracking it and make sure we get reimbursed for that. Our County Road V project, we're continuing to do 3 more miles on V between Ridgeland and Sand Creek. So we're looking at picking up where we left off last year and going just past the cemetery, which is by 330th Avenue. So that is also another ARPA funded project that we will be tracking as well. And then last but not least, I guess on Z, the deteriorated road on County Road Z is finally going to get started from C to C, approximately 4 miles there. We are working with the DNR currently. There is some larger structures on that project that will need to be removed and replaced. So we are working with them. Hopefully that'll be our project that we will start probably in midsummer. I anticipate that project to take a period of time of approximately about 4 months. So we will be looking at trying to accomplish that. That is also ARPA funded. And we do also have Lrip funds for County Road Z as well. The last project is the project on Q and W from Downing South. Cedar Corps has designed that intersection at Q and W, which is more of a, currently the way it's laid out is it's kind of like a T intersection, which it should not be. So we have a lot of confusion there. So we have designed a curve with W coming into it at perpendicular to the roadway instead of how it is currently. We did speak to the landowner who would be affected by this redesign. He was very concerned with it on how much land he would have to be giving up. We would be looking at purchasing approximately an acre of land. So I have requested Cedar Corps to go back to the drawing board to minimize the impact to the fields, the farmland that's at this intersection. So we can maybe lessen that to far less than an acre of land for that. The goal was to complete that this year. I don't know if this is going to happen now due to the potential redesign. So there is a possibility. I've asked Cedar Corps to get the ball rolling. But we do have a potential of maybe starting that in the fall time of the year as well. So that'll be a work in progress, I guess. That's pretty much all I had for my project updates at this point in time. Any questions, concerns?
What's the total cost on B?
So the portion to the south of I-94 is at approximately 6 million. The portion to the north is approximately 2.4. We don't know that, but like I said, it's all estimated costs, and what the DOT has been telling us is the numbers have been coming in lower than what the estimated costs have been for this year. So that's good news, but we'll see what next year brings. Guess we'll go right into the bridge project updates. So we do have the 2 bridges that are getting replaced on the county this year on County Road Q and County Road K up in Connorsville and just north of Knapp. The DOT just sent me about 2 weeks ago the project start document that both contractors are responsible for implementing the bird netting on the bridges, so swallows don't build their nests on the bridge. Otherwise that will shut the project down and they have to wait till the nests are gone. So right now that has been awarded to each contractor to start that process. An actual construction start date is up in the air right now. I have not been told on that. But I would anticipate probably here in early May that probably the projects will start that process of getting started with construction. Any questions, concerns on that? And those projects will be, the road will be shut down and detoured. So I know up in Connorsville, they weren't too happy with that because a lot of people go up that way to get to Turtle Lake, I guess, but there's ways around. Exactly. So we'll go right into the financials. So obviously we at the highway, we continue to work with finance. We did make some changes with our cost coding accounts to try to streamline a lot of that. We are getting all highway staff and finance staff to all be on the same page on where things are getting coded to. It's still a work in progress. Obviously it's change takes time. So we are working on that. Just so we can have a better way of tracking what things are costing us and put into one pot instead of multiple pots. So that's a work in progress. Our finance department is completing the year-end financials. They're working on, every year we have to do surveys for the DOT with all of our county financials. So we're looking at completing most of those. The financial packet that I presented, our budget and revenue, if you look at that, we've pretty much evened each other out based on our revenue source and our expenditure source. We've had a approximately $2 million worth of expenditures through March. But we've also had approximately 1.8 million of revenue. So there is obviously some DOT expenses that have not been paid yet. So I think we are currently sitting really well at highway. Obviously, that'll look a lot different when we start breaking ground. And when we start putting asphalt down, that's when the costs expenditures will go up. So any questions regarding financials?
Yeah, it's just more of a statement. I know change takes time, but I would really, in the future, like to see this committee push forward to real-time costs. So at the end of the day, you can, okay, we did this and this and this, and where are we at on the project?
Yep.
Because it's my understanding that software is out there. Private contractors are using it, other counties are using it. So I think that's a very, very high priority for this committee to work towards.
Yep. And that has been a discussion with the same concerns we have at highway too. It always seems like we're months behind.
Yeah.
Just with our billing and stuff. And I think a lot of that is just the battle of the beast when we do it. And by the time we get the invoices, and especially when it comes to asphalt, a lot of times we put the material down and 3 weeks later we'll get the invoice for it.
Yeah,
And then the whole
so-
process to pay it. And
Yeah.
yes, I completely understand.
Yeah, I certainly hope the new county chair pushes that, yes.
Yep. I agree. Anything else regarding financials? If not, I guess we'll go into the equipment auction. So we recently had some equipment that we put on the Wisconsin surplus auction. Obviously, we purchased a used backhoe with our, I think it was two meetings ago, with our salt sand screener that we traded in, and we traded it on a backhoe. So we did have a backhoe that we put on the auction. I can't recall what year it was. It was 2002, I believe it was. 03. Okay. So it was an 03 John Deere backhoe. A little bit larger backhoe than what we got. But not gonna lie, a lot of the times that backhoe was sitting in our yard collecting dust. So we did auction that off, and surprisingly, we got approximately $52,000 for that backhoe. Far more than what 2 years ago it was on auction, I believe, and it only got 35. So we did very well on that. Another piece of equipment, we got rid of a 1968 300 John Deere tractor that used to be our seeding tractor. Obviously, a couple years ago, we bought a hydro seeder. So we don't utilize this tractor to its potential. So we got rid of that, and I believe we fared really well on that. I think it was $3,000 we got for that tractor. It's more of a collector's item than anything for tractor buffs. I'm not a tractor buff, so. And our last piece of equipment, big piece of equipment, was our 1985. I don't believe it's a Ford. I thought it was a GMC welding truck. That's been our pride in our fleet for years. But we purchased a service truck that has a welder on it, so we no longer needed this truck. So we got rid of this truck and fared really well on that, I believe. And then the welder that was on that truck, we sold that as well separately with that truck. We did have some of the stairs and catwalk that came from the solid waste department. We put that on auction and sold that. And like I said, everybody was tickled pink when they got that. Salt brine maker, the state, believe it was 2 years ago, purchased a automated salt brine maker for us. So the salt brine maker that we had from previous, more of a manual piece of equipment, we put on the auction and sold as well. The unfortunate thing, we didn't get what we paid for it, but that's obviously the price of used equipment. I believe we got about $3,000 for it, and it was a $7,000 new piece of equipment cost. It was back in Jesse's era, so about 7 years ago, I believe, if I had to guess.
Right around 6 or 7.
Yeah, if I had to guess. And like I said, the new piece of equipment we got is just you press a button. No, we're not chemists. So this takes the chemistry out of it. But yeah, like I said, it was just sitting in our shop collecting dust, so we got rid of it. And when there was some other little odds and ends that we did, there was like an ancient pull behind grader that's more of a lawn ornament that we got rid of. And actually that got sold internally to one of our employees who wants to put it as a lawn ornament. So, but that was through the whole auction. Obviously, nobody got to buy it without the auction. So everything went well. So the money will be put back into our fund balance and help recoup our fund balance. That's pretty much all I had for the equipment auction. Next piece of equipment on the agenda is the highway roof. I did request proposals for the highway roof replacement. I did get 3 bids. As you can see, RTS Roofing, Quality Roofing, and Northwest Roofing. We were kind of estimating this to be about $350,000 to put a roof on this. Speaking with a lot of the individuals who came to our open house prior to the proposal date, they said this would be one of the easiest roofing jobs there is. Very simple, flat roof, not a lot of openings, very simple. I was blatantly surprised. We did get very, very good bids, in my opinion. I am in contact with our finance department. The possibility of where we're going to come up with the money to do it. This was not budgeted in 2022. It was actually denied in our capital improvement request. So this would be something that like I said, I'm in the process of trying to find the money to do it. And if it's something we can't do this year and we have to do next year, at least we have a number to go off of. Blatantly surprised with all the rain. We do have few leaks in the facility, but not as much as we've had in the past. We're trying to caulk everything up. Every time we find a leak, we're just up there with paintbrushes, putting tar on. So, like I said, I'm working with the finance department and administration to see what we can and can't do. So that's why I didn't have it as an action item quite yet. So.
That is a fabulous price.
I think it's a very, very good price. So. Yeah. Yes.
I totally agree. It's been leaking for 5 years. I mean.
Yeah,
Yeah, the highway chair is really gonna have to push on that one. Whoever that might be.
So yeah, like I said, I know there was some carryover with the judicial center roof. So I'm looking at that as a possibility. I do know that we did have some money come in with the frontage road project with Prevea. So I know that there's some funding there as well. So I'm asking around. So trying to not go to the step where we have to collect a can out front for change, but they are. I know RTS and Quality. I don't know about Northwest. I know RTS is out of Eau Claire, and I believe. Okay, I believe they are. Yep, and I believe Northwest did the judicial center roof.
They've been around a long time.
Yep. Yep, so they're all quality roofing contractors. So, but we did have a good turnout. I would say we probably had 8 contractors that came to the open house and 3 of them submitted it, so. Yeah, like I said, work in progress to see if we can get that done this year. Just to keep going forward, the Potter Cemetery. I have the contractor to put the fencing up scheduled for the end of April here. Hopefully things dry out. We did start, if any of you have driven past the highway shop, we started removing the trees along the fence line. We removed the stumps. Looking to, like I said, get the contractor in there to put the fencing and the gate in. We are looking at trying to put some gravel in there for now. Remove some of the topsoil and get some gravel put in. We just feel it's going to be a lot easier to do that now than later when the fence is up to be able to get in and out of there. So there might be some additional costs that possibly may go over that funding source that the Potters group has collected. They did collect additional monies for the fence and some of the gravel. I believe they're over $25,000 currently. And I did contact the H&S fence company to resubmit their bid due to the fact that they actually had tax included with their proposal. And due to the county being tax exempt entity, they revised it and lowered it approximately $1,000 roughly. So I've spoken to Potter's group and they were tickled pink and glad to hear that. So we're going to get that process started here shortly when things dry up. It's just a muddy mess back there. So we're hoping spring comes sooner than later. That's pretty much it on the Potter Cemetery. Any questions? Okay, we'll lead right into the 2022-2027 STP Rural, Urban, and Bridge Project Awards. This was something I've been waiting for months. We submitted some applications for state funded projects. These would be their 80-20 match projects that we would apply for. The unfortunate thing is I applied for three STP projects, 1 urban and 2 rural, and unfortunately we did not get awarded any of those projects. That's not to say we can't apply for that BIL funding for these projects. I was looking at trying to do County Road J south of town, County Road D up by Jake's, and County Road D south of 72. Like I said, that's something we can definitely try to go after the BIL funding to complete those. We did receive funding, 80-20 match funding for 4 bridge projects, 2 of which would be Dunn County structures, and 1 would be the town of Rock Creek bridge, and 1 rehabilitation for a redeck on the city or the town of Menominee's bridge on Rudiger Road. We, as the county, are the sponsor for all of these projects. So basically, we fill out the application, we do all the oversight on behalf of the towns and so we're looking at trying to get that process started. So like I said, these are 80-20 matches. The two county structures are one on V, just north of State Highway 64 over by Connorsville. That's an old timber structure. That one will be getting replaced. And then the other one is on County Road P. Just west of town. It's actually west of County Road K. A very small structure, but that structure has been hit numerous times because of its very narrow, right around a curve. A lot of farm equipment hits it. So we're looking at obviously widening and extending and trying to make that an improvement. So I'm waiting on the DOT to present the SMA agreements, so the state maintenance agreements, to get those projects started. So that right now, those are looking at scheduled for 2024 replacement. So we would be starting the design process right away and looking at 24. I believe Rock Creek's is in 23. But ours would be in 24. Any questions on that? Okay, the 2022, 2023 LRIP projects that were awarded. So this is allocated state funding that is given to each county. Basically each region in the state, so the West Central region gets a pot of money, and all the commissioners basically disperse it to each county. The process is basically it's just a straight percentage each year. So Dunn County, the two projects that I applied for were County Road I, north of Sand Creek. So that has a discretionary dollars in the amount of $256,000 to help offset the paving costs on that project. The other one is our County Road B project. We have approximately $460,000 to put towards County Road B. This portion of County Road B is actually north of the project that's happening next year. So what I've been in contact with the DOT is if there's a possibility of taking this money and moving it to our B project by Love's intersection, to help offset that cost. I have not heard back. It was just last week that I sent an email out, and like I said, we'll see if that's a possibility just to help offset the cost. This does happen every 2 years. So the next Lrip cycle will be happening in 2024. So there's a potential that we can still put B on the radar north of this project for Lrip funds as well. Any questions? And I will mention too, the towns actually fared very well in this Lrip cycle, this last Lrip cycle. So there is a project for the town of Elk Mound actually got awarded for approximately almost 70% funding costs for a project that they had. So this was an application that they submitted to the DOT for a statewide approval. So basically all the towns were competing against all the towns in the state of Wisconsin for this funding. As you can see, the town of Elk Mound, I highlighted theirs on 620th Avenue. They had a project cost of approximately $1.3 million and they got awarded just over 900,000 for the project, which is great for them. The other ones that got awarded under the same program, but less funding, was for the Lrip Tri-D, which is the discretionary. The town of Menominee and the town of Springbrook were awarded funds for their projects. So I did notify each town. They were ecstatic, especially Springbrook. This has been a road they've been trying to repair for years and they don't have the money to do it. So we as the county don't provide any services to these projects. Basically, the town we're here to help them, but the town basically goes and solicits bids for engineering. Design gets completed, gets let through the DOT process, and a contractor performs the work. Once the work is performed, the towns will get reimbursed that allocated amount that's been allocated to the towns. The city of Menominee also did get a project award for Pine Street. They have I believe Pine Street is that the one that goes down to the park? Wakanda, I believe that is the one. So they got approximately $400,000 to work with on that project. So these projects have 5 years to be utilized, the funds. So it's probably not going to happen next year for most of these projects. It'll be more into the 24, 25 or beyond before a lot of these projects will get completed. Any questions?
So the whole state is every other year for these over?
Yes.
It is.
Yeah, so the process always starts in the odd year for applications, but funding is for the even year. So we'll be starting another cycle in 23 for 2024 and 2025 funds. Yes, so like the towns have, the way they've done it is they've done an every other cycle. So it'll take 4 years before a town will get LRIP funding, the way that it's set up currently with the towns. That's the way they've done it.
So about twice as fast as bridge funding.
Yes. And the one thing is every application that was submitted to the state for bridge projects, all of them got funded this year.
Wow.
So the DOT is pushing really hard to get some of their really deficient bridges on the local level replaced. So that's good. And the BIL funding that also will be able to utilize for bridges as well. Like I said, we review them basically every year after they get inspected to see what the sufficiencies are, if we can add more bridges into the program to get replaced. So every bridge in Dunn County currently, after these are replaced, will be above that sufficiency threshold that will not be eligible for project funding until it gets below that sufficiency number of 50. We can look at possibly doing some rehabilitation of some of our structures. If there's any redecking or any type of major repairs that need to be done, we can apply for those funds. So. Any other questions? So with the next item on the list is the PBM projects. So every year, the DOT approximately, I would say about 5 years ago, implemented a performance-based maintenance program set aside for counties in general to basically have a contract for any type of maintenance outside of our RMA, our routine maintenance. So outside of our contract with the state, this PBM program is something that they request additional funds for us to complete. So we have been requested to provide costs, a contract cost for sealing 8 bridges in Dunn County, which are state bridges, state owned. So that basically would be, we would remove all the sand and debris off the deck, seal up any cracks, and then put a bridge sealer on it to deter any salt and contaminants to leach into the concrete. So that's one project that I have already submitted, waiting for the state's approval on. The other one is a chip seal on Highway 25 from County Road D to Wheeler. That is another one that we're looking at performing this summer. I have not gotten time yet to put a bid proposal to the state on that one. So we're looking at that currently. So basically, whatever we provide for a contract cost is what we get paid to do for it. Could be more or less, but typically we don't short ourselves if we're going to perform that maintenance for the state. Like I said, it's something that the state implemented years ago, and I'm not a big fan of it personally. I would just like to have time and materials to do it and just do some more maintenance, is what I'd like to see the state do. But unfortunately, this is the way they've approached it. So we're basically competing against ourselves to do maintenance for the state. So any questions? Okay. Well, that's good. I'm answering all your questions. I provided in our packet the Senate bill number 508. This is regarding the allowance of green lights to be used for municipal vehicles. Research has shown that green lights are way more visible than our current amber and red that we utilize. Another nice piece to it is people get complacent when they see the same lights over and over again, and now we're going to add green into it, and that is going to make a huge difference for a period of time, and then people will probably get complacent with that. We understand that. We've tried. I know the counties have kind of pushed for blue and red, like the police, but obviously that's gotten shot down numerous times. So this was their way of allowing green lights. According to a lot of the West Central commissioners, they're going to proceed with implementing their trucks with green lights. I know St. Croix was looking at retrofitting some of their interstate trucks with the green lights. I've looked at that as well. I've asked Dan, our shop foreman, to see if that's a possibility, if we can do that. I'm waiting for the governor to sign this bill, waiting for that before anything happens, obviously. But if it's gone through the Senate and the House, it's typically going to get passed by the governor, typically. So I know going forward, we do have one truck that's sitting over at Indian Head. We did look at a possibility of putting green lights on that. And unfortunately, they already had the lights purchased with their same configuration that we have on all of our other trucks. So going forward, we're looking at implementing the green lights just to be consistent with the entire state. I'm not looking at retrofitting all of our trucks, but the possibility of maybe our interstate trucks, which that would be 2 trucks there, and then maybe our 29 truck, our 4-lane on 29. So that's a possibility. I'm not saying that's going to happen, just obviously with the sheer cost potentially to do it. But going forward, we will be looking at green lights on our new trucks.
What would be the cost on a truck?
I don't know. We haven't looked at the whole retrofitting and
I was just kind
I'm assuming it's literally take a lens out and put a different color lens. I'm not a,
Yeah, I don't know.
maybe Dave knows more about that process than I do. I'm not a.
Well, some lights are, yeah, have a lens as simple as changing the lens, but more than likely the newer, you know, for a number of years now, the light has been one piece where it's a sealed beam type light. And you'd have to, it'd be more than just replacing the lens. But what you could do though, is instead of stocking amber lights from now on, you could go to green
Yes.
and it would, you know, if you pulled up behind a truck and had one of each, it's gonna really call your attention to it and you'd, you know, as you go,
Yeah.
because I'm sure you replace, I would hazard a guess, you probably replace a couple on each truck every year,
Oh,
you
yeah,
know.
easily. Yeah, and another thing is the Wisconsin County Highway Association, they're looking at trying to have a uniformity of all the trucks throughout the state. So coming up with a configuration is what they're looking at trying to do. So not everybody's doing everything different. It'd be nice to have just one standard. So that's a big push that a lot of the commissioners are trying to get implemented on the WCHA level.
I think the physics of it would be probably part of the simplicity because the new the high intensity green LEDs are relatively new. Because it's a higher energy state. It's like the green lasers are a higher energy state. I know that they've just made some breakthroughs in that technology, so.
And I know Michigan's has green for years. And they've done a lot of research on it and they've said that obviously blue is the best physical light to see, but green is second. So that's what they've done a lot of research. So. Yes. And I guess last but not least, I just wanted everyone to be aware. The WCHA summer conference is scheduled for June 6th through the 8th. Just wanted everybody on the committee here to realize that. Obviously, there will be probably some change forthcoming. So like I said, just want to make sure everybody's aware. I'm looking at going, so I will ask for any input on individuals that want to attend. So mark that on your calendar, June 6th through the 8th for those that want to attend. Other than that, that concludes my commissioner's report.
Great, thank you. Any more questions for Dustin?
I've got one comment, Justin, in here. Every time I go to Sandra about that vendor by M and the M and I.
Right by the gas station.
Yeah. They stopped stop painting on each end. There's nothing in between.
Okay.
Some people are saying maybe even put a stop sign. You're coming from the south to the M or to that jump. I don't know. If you don't live there, it's dangerous.
No,
It really is.
and I requested our line stripers to actually paint that last summer.
Yeah,
And I wanted actual edge lines and everything.
that would be great.
They told me they did it, so maybe they didn't.
They did.
Okay.
I was there 2 days ago and somebody was chewing. them.
So I guess I would like to start with that first.
That might-
That'd be a lot cheaper method to just put some line stripes on there. And stay if we can, even if we have to paint it every year.
That's fine. That's fine.
I think it'd be really confusing for people that are so used to that to put another stop sign up that.
It would be, a lot of people that don't know it,
Yep.
they'll stop there. Then this would stop and this would stop.
And then-
Throw a stop sign here.
And then somebody plows into the back end.
But
Yep.
I just thought I'd throw it out.
Yep.
It's not
Nope.
striped, so.
I will put that on my list to make sure the contractor does that right away.
Sorry, I didn't have my.
I could hear you. Dave?
Well, I've talked to Dustin about this, but I've gotten a couple of letters recently from municipalities. One was the city, I believe it was, the other one was Boyceville. Maybe it was Red Cedar. Anyway, maybe I got three. Anyway, they're asking about, they'd like to purchase the old recycling center. And I assumed we had equipment in there as an experiment, how that storage would work, and it didn't happen last year. So I've talked to Dustin. I think the committee should look at that, get a report of whether he thinks it would work and go from there. If it won't work, then go from there. But the other thing with that is Nick doesn't know if we can sell it anyway because of the environmental stuff out there. So the bottom line is, if highway can use that, we should put it to use. And I want the people that are left on the committee to realize that that's something that you should be looking at probably sooner than later going into next year. There'll probably be some questions on that.
Yeah, and I know one of the concerns was rats. So you and I had discussed maybe get, essentially hire a couple of barn cats for
And
the.
that is, I asked Scott about that, and that's been taken care of.
Oh, great.
Once they got rid of all the junk, they had a firm come in and and kill them off or whatever. And now that there's no food out there, that hasn't been a problem the way I understand. Now, maybe they move back in during the winter. I don't know, but I did talk to Scott about that.
So do you think there's a lot of seepage from the garbage out there? Into the ground? Or-
The way the site is built, the wetland is growing off the parking lot where everything sat. According to people that are a lot smarter than me, they're pretty certain that it would have to be cleaned up. And it may cost a lot more to clean it up than what, the thing was only valued at 300,000. I mean, when I say only, that's a lot of money to me. But it isn't a lot of money if you start cleaning up environmental stuff. And if it's stays in the counties, we don't have to. I mean, the site is there, the wetlands there. There's nothing more going into it. It's getting past the agenda thing, but I just wanted you to be aware of it and look into it.
Yeah, and I just want to add on to that. We've obviously had some internal discussions with staff. Obviously, we have grown out of our current Menominee shop. We have a lot of equipment sitting outside. We were talking about the possibility of utilizing that building and maybe storing some of our plow trucks in the wintertime there, maybe even having crews come out of that building in the wintertime, in the summertime, and have maybe our spray patch trucks and all that stuff out of there. My one big concern is it's not as easy as just turning the lights on and taking the building over. Obviously, I don't know what type of running water it has. I don't know what type of sewer system it has. That's all information I'd have to gather. So I've basically told our staff to kind of just put it on hold for now, and unless it's just literally storing a piece of equipment there out of the element, I don't want anything to happen at this point in time. Because like I said, it's not as simple as just turning the lights on. And I know everything's been winterized, and I do want to talk to Scott about opening up the facilities just to see what it is, what's there. I've never been in the building. So obviously, if we were looking at possibly taking that over? Is it gonna need repairs? Is it gonna need insulation? What's it all gonna need? I don't know. So something we definitely are gonna explore.
All right. Anything else for the commissioners report? All right, then I will move us down to consideration for actions to be taken by the committee. Vouchers. Motion by Supervisor Johnson to approve. Do I have a second? Supervisor Prochnow. Any further discussion? I will just note that they are much easier to read these days, and thank you. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes. Oh golly, salt shed lease agreement.
So this was the discussion we had. I just want to obviously just put a little background information on it. So this was a discussion we had and we were kind of on hold with it. Speaking with the DOT, with our other needs that we have with our current facilities, and how their current state is. So we've put a list together of our current structures that need repairs or replacements. Talking with the DOT, with Jeff Kern, he's the main maintenance coordinator for the DOT Northwest region. It sounds like we're gonna have funding sources coming to us to replace some of our current structures. I think the next ones on the list are Colfax structures. They're very old and dilapidated, and we're looking at trying to get those possibly replaced next year. That's what the state tells me. Like I said, I can only take their word. But they assure me that there's funding out there for our current structures, that we will be looking at doing like a 5-year plan. So I guess what I would like to do is to just make it known that they have given us, I shouldn't say give us, the state has allocated $230,000 to this shed to be built down in O'Galley. I had Nick look through the language in here. He did have some questions that we resolved and worked out. So basically that this facility would be paid for by the state on Dunn County property. Any type of maintenance, they would give us maintenance, annual maintenance agreement dollars to keep the upkeep of it. Any large repairs, let's say the roof blows off of it, we would have to insure it. So our insurance would have to cover a portion of that. If the thing totally implodes, the state would help offset the cost to rebuild it. So that was the agreement that's in here. Any type of like major repairs that are outside, above and beyond our lease agreement would be potentially looked at as a cost share with the state. I did get a rough estimate on a hoop style shed, just from a local contractor, and it was right around that $180,000 for 1,000-ton capacity salt shed. So there obviously would be some dirt work, some asphalt that we would have to lay, some gravel material put down prior to the hoop shed being built. It would have a 20-year lifespan on the roof assembly, typical for any type of asphalt shingle or anything like that. I've heard good luck with these styles of sheds. That's not to say we have to go with a hoop style. We could look at putting timber, concrete, you name it, whatever we want to put in. Basically, the state is saying, here's $230,000, get it built. So that's what we're looking at trying to accomplish this year yet. I would be soliciting bids to currently put a hoop style shed in is what I would be looking at, just because of the cost effectiveness of it and the long-term longevity of it. So,
How tall are the sidewalls on them, Dustin?
so what they had planned was 8 foot. I'd like to see it taller.
Yeah.
I'm looking at 10 to 12.
Okay.
I'm thinking probably 12 foot is what I'd like to see, just because we try to cram as much salt in these as we can, and we keep pushing and pushing and pushing, and it's nice to have that. So those hoop style would be basically those T-panel, like what you see with like farming practices where they have like bunker silos and stuff like that. It'd be the same concept for the foundation. So, and I've kind of drawn a sketch on where it would be placed. That's not to say where it would be, but the DOT needs that. Just to say it can be put there on our property. So like I said, the big thing is we would have to insure it, but the state would offset the cost to do all that with the maintenance agreement annually.
What if it costs us more?
So if it costs more than that $230,000 allocated, then I'll go back to the state.
So looking for a resolution from the, just a approval.
Yeah, just to approve the lease agreement, I
Okay.
guess, for
I move
For
we approve the
proceeding.
lease agreement for what's drawn up here.
Great. Motion by Randy, second by Jerry. Any further discussion?
More than 1,000 ton, I have to go for a big higher.
No, and like I said, we can, instead of maybe going taller, we don't have to go as far out then, because right now I believe the structure that they said would be 50 by 100, I think was the capacity for 1,000 ton based on 8 foot tall walls. So maybe we can condense that and just go taller.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. We have a salt shed lease agreement. Approved material and service bids. Looks like we have a pile of them.
This is where it gets ugly. First one on the list is the hot mix asphalt. As you can see in your packet, we received one bid, which is typical every year from Monarch Paving Company. Our traditional mix that we utilize is that 3LT warm mix, the WMA MA 5828, which is, I take that back, it's a 4LT 5828 warm mix for 5432. That's our traditional mix that we use. That is approximately 20% higher from last year.
That's what I thought.
Last year was right around that 44, 45. Now it's 54. Not much we can do about it when there's only one game in town. So cold mix normally is right around that $60 a ton, up to $90 a ton this year. Costs are exponentially skyrocketing. So once I have an engineer on board, I'd like to go through our project costs in detail to see if there is something we have to adjust based on these costs. Unfortunately, maybe we may have to do less or put less asphalt down. Maybe we don't pave a road this year and leave it gravel over the winter. We'll come up with some options. But if we have the monies allocated for this, we'll do it, because I hate to say it, unfortunately, estimated costs were based on last year's numbers. Not going up this much. We anticipated probably right around that 10%, but it's higher than that, so.
So do I have a motion to approve the alarmingly expensive Monarch paving? bid?
So moved.
Thank you, Supervisor Maves. We'll say Randy, it was very quick off the gun. And any further discussion?
If there was another one sitting side by side in Monarch, are they both gonna be comparable to that?
It, I would say yes. I think it's just based on the oil prices currently.
And I understand, but just so they aren't jamming it because they're the only one around, but.
Yes, and I've obviously the commissioners in the area, we know what everybody's bidding, bid results. St. Croix was a little bit less than ours. I know Clark County was higher than ours. It all depends too on the facility. So the Eau Claire plant is actually cheaper by approximately $5 a ton, cheaper than what Menominee provides. Due to the fact that their aggregate source is right there at 37 and 85. The Menominee plant, they have to haul all the material in. So that's why that additional $5 a ton extra is accounted for. We are going to look at utilizing the Eau Claire plant if we can. Our County Road Z project down by Downsville, I will look at utilizing Eau Claire. The problem is obviously they don't have a lot of work from what they tell me coming out of Menominee, and Monarch tells us where to go. If their facilities filled up in Eau Claire, they'll try to make accommodations as if they can. But obviously we're not the only ones that are paving during the summer season, so.
Yeah, it's as I recall, it's per barrel price plus shipping. And that is also, of course, jacked up by per barrel price for the oil.
And right now it's, they don't know what the price is gonna be 6 months from now. And so they're looking out for them by saying, okay, this is what we're projecting it to be. This is what we're gonna charge you.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Ouch.
That's not the worst of it yet.
Oh, good.
So the second item on the action item is the bituminous oil and application. So I submitted bids for, basically this is our seal coat oil. Anytime we put a seal coat down or our chip sealing, or spray patching, I should say. So our spray patch trucks utilize this oil as well. So we had two companies that are typical submittals every year, Flint Hills and Farner Asphalt combination. So Flint Hills would be providing the oil and Farner would be doing the application. Miggs is the other contractor. They do everything in-house. They have the oil and the application. Based on the costs, my recommendation is to go with Miggs. The cost for oil on this is approximately, I would say about 25 cents to 30 cents higher than it was last year per gallon. It's the battle of the beast. So that's another thing we will address to see if we have to tone down some of our maintenance just with that. I mean, obviously we have to fill potholes. But we can maybe retract some of our chip sealing due to the cost increase.
So do I have a motion? Thank you. Motion by Brian, second by Jerry. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes.
To go hand in hand with that is the seal coat aggregate. 4 contractors provided a cost for the material, which is the aggregate that we put on our chip seal and spray patch. Four contractors. Some of them provide a FA2 granite, which is a 1/4 inch minus. So we had Haas, Milestone, Opelt, and Stelter. So this is trucked material to our facilities. So that's why the costs are higher. Last year, we used a combination of Haas material. Actually, last year we used Haas material. It's a black granite. It's a very nice material. There is some advantages to putting that darker rock down. It does help in the wintertime. The other option that based on our bid results here would be Milestone. Milestone has, and I did have that incorrect. They do have an FA2 granite. I did put on their pea gravel. It is a fractured material, but it is a more pink and brownish color. We have never utilized the material, so I can't say if it's good, bad, or other. I guess based on what I know, my recommendation is to go with Haas. Very good contractor to work with. If we need the material tomorrow, we call them up and they bring it to us. We are currently getting material from them for our spray patchers. And the cost that they have provided to our Menominee location has not changed from last year. So that has stayed the same, and that's where majority of our rock goes, is to Menominee.
I move we go with Haas for the rock and chippers.
Do I have a second? Thank you, Jerry. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes. Jerry, do you prefer Joe or Jerry? It hasn't been in person, so this is, I was realizing that. Okay. Okay, as long as you're good with either. I just realized I should have asked that a while ago.
Anything but hey you.
I answered pretty well to hey you myself, but. All righty. Okay. Next on the very expensive list.
Yep. So we'll go through the culvert materials. So submitted proposals to for HDPE culverts, which are plastic culverts that we utilize 90% of the time. Had one bid. So there's 2 manufacturers that provide the culvert materials. So there's ADS culverts and then there's Prinsco culverts. Those are the 2 only manufacturers that provide culverts. So Farrell is a distributor for ADS. We have used ADS culverts in the past. We've had very good luck with them. I did contact the distributor, a local distributor out of Eau Claire, who distributes Prinsco pipes. He would not provide a bid because the pricing is so lucrative right now and it fluctuates daily. Petroleum-based products obviously change probably hourly what the costs are. So he would not provide a bid due to the nature of this being a 2022 contract for the entire season. So he would not provide that, not knowing what next month is going to bring. I have asked other commissioners in the area what they were seeing for pricing. What we've received from Farrell was comparable to the counties around us. So I guess we can accept the bid or we can try to resubmit for proposals again. We what I'm looking at is we will get probably the same number. From what we look at from years past, Farrell has been our cheapest distributor. These costs have gone up 50% from last year. That was a shock when I saw that, how dramatically they have increased. Obviously, the quantities I've put in there, that's just an estimated quantity that we put in there just in case we have two contractors that are very similar in price, just so we can determine which one is the better fit, I guess. So
And I would imagine you'd want them on hand,
so
so you don't have to wait for one for a project.
we have enough stock in our yard right now to get started.
Okay.
But that's not to say that we will have enough for our entire season. We do have a lot of towns that come in. We are basically a distributor for all the towns and municipalities in the area. So we do have stock just for that situation as well.
So do you charge them just a little bit more to recoup some of your costs of getting the bids and storing them and loading them and?
So what we have done is we've always had a 5% handling charge on it.
Okay.
I will have the discussion with at the next Towns Association meeting, but we have implemented an administrative fee of 4.53%. That is based on the state implementation. That's what we can charge the state for our services that we provide the state. So we've implemented that countywide. For anything we do, we've added a 4.53% administrative fee. I have elected to eliminate the 5% handling charge due to the fact of that administrative fee. We are having a lot of pushback from a lot of towns when we go from nothing to 4.53%. So like I said, that's a discussion I will have at the next Towns Association meeting here in April, just explaining the situation. But yeah, we do have something in place. If somebody comes in and buys a culvert, if it's a $300 culvert, we're adding 4.53% to that to recoup some of our additional costs. I have talked to our staff due to the cost increase of these culverts. This is our price for 2022. The culverts that are in our yard, they'll be these prices. If we had to purchase that same culvert, this is what it would cost. So
Do all the townships come to you for most of their culverts, or is it just a few, or
I would probably beg to say 90% of them.
they do?
We are the cheapest in the area,
Okay.
only because we get such volume. We order such volume. So if somebody wants to go to Farrell and buy 20 feet of culvert, they're gonna get charged a lot more than what we get. Just because we.
So they shouldn't complain too much if you put a little fee on there for them. Right? I know.
You can tell Marv that next time you see him.
Well,
I understand, but
so
You know.
obviously we're considered a nonprofit.
yeah.
So that's when they see an administrative fee, and we've gone to the software system that's supposed to be easier for billing and all that stuff. There's still a cost to that where they don't understand. So that's why, like I said, it happened last year. This was implemented last year, but it was never explained to the towns. So it just needs to be known.
Okay.
And we have had towns that have short paid us. So that'll be another discussion that I have to have, but so that's outside of this.
Yeah. The 4.5% or for whatever it was, that's gonna be on everything.
That's gonna be on everything.
So when you're storing something like a culvert, there's some added expense to that over your administration fee when you're doing billing and everything else, you know.
Correct.
I guess
And I,
even though I'm from a township, putting my county hat on, I think there should be, I think you could argue that when you're laying out thousands of dollars for inventory, that to charge 5% on that type of stuff wouldn't be out of line, plus the 4.5 or 4.3% administration charge. I'm just throwing that out there as a county with my county hat on now. Even though Marv might complain, it's still probably cheaper than going elsewhere.
Well, right.
And,
correct.
you know, this is something that you're stocking. It's not, I mean, you still have, even if you sell this, you still have your administration fees on everything you do, just like your administration fees on your road work and everything else that you do for the townships. The bottom line is, if you're too much money, they're gonna go elsewhere. They'll
Correct.
go to the private sector, and that wouldn't be terrible either. Although you may want to keep so much work and then you'll have to redo it. But I don't know. It seems to me that it might be appropriate to keep some type.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we'll address that. Like I said, it was, this was something new, and it was a shock to a lot of the towns. So I just want to kind of ease them into it and just make it known. So we will address like a stocking fee or something like that as well.
Okay, so I'm gonna rope us back to the agenda item. No, I think it was a useful digression, but I think for one, I don't expect it to get any cheaper if we didn't take the bid. So do I have a motion?
So moved.
Supervisor Maves, Supervisor Hartung. Any further discussion? All right, hearing none, all in favor?
So I guess I just want to retract a little bit going back. So
Okay.
we would be awarding feral equipment for the plastic, and I didn't discuss the metal culverts, but we would be awarding contact based on the cost, correct?
Well, let's just do,
Okay,
we'll just do
we'll
two
just go to the
separate
plastic.
motions.
Okay.
I'm fairly confident that
Got it.
it'll, but yeah,
And I didn't write that down. Who made the motion? Chuck made the motion?
Chuck and Jerry. And the motion passed. So we're good on the HDPE.
Perfect. Well, then we'll dive right into the metal culverts. Same situation. They've gone up exponentially as well. We had 2 bids submitted, and I put all the unit pricing into our spreadsheet that we have. Like I said, these are just estimated costs, just if we just have to throw a number in there. That's not to say this is what we are purchasing quantity wise. So as you can see, if we put all the unit pricing in based on the quantities, Contech is cheaper than Metal Culverts Incorporated. So I guess that's my suggestion. If we utilize the same spreadsheet from last year with context numbers, the total cost was $137,000, and now this year it's $185 for the same materials. Like I said, it's exponentially gone up quite a bit. But that would be my recommendation, is to go with Contech.
Motion by Supervisor Johnson, second by Supervisor Prochnow. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Project-based materials.
So I guess what I'll do is, do we want to go one through them one-on-one, or?
Do you have like an overarching look, or do you want to do the, what works best for you?
I guess, it's pretty self-explanatory on two of them. Since we only received one bid on Q and our project on Z.
Okay.
So Milestone was the only, bid for both of those. So I guess that's my recommendation, to go with Milestone. Their quarries are literally within driving distance, to these, facilities. We are looking at also on County Road Z to maybe utilize some of our own county material, that we will be crushing here shortly, to help offset some of these costs. They have gone up. In particular, they were right around that 680 a ton last year, and has gone up to that 720, 730 a ton. So I guess for County Road Z and Q, that would be my recommendation, is to go with my Milestone Materials.
So,
Maves and Johnson. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes.
And then the last one is our County Road V project up by Sand Creek. We did receive 4 contractors to provide that material. I requested 2 options, an option for pickup with our own county trucks, or an option for them to haul it to us, the contractor to haul it to us. I guess in my opinion, we received very good prices. My recommendation based on this cost was to go with Haas Materials or Haas Contractors to, for both options 1 and 2. When it comes to any type of basic culvert bedding material that we would need, I would say we would just go pick that up ourselves. So their facility is in Bloomer if we would need to. Otherwise, we can utilize our own materials. We have used their material in the past. It's more of a sand gravel mix, just like all these other materials are, except for Milestone. Milestone would be lime rock, but they did not provide a price to haul it to us. At that option number 2 from Haas, we can't even haul it to that facility, to that project for that cost. So their quarry is on 124, just north of Chippewa Falls, just south of 64. That's every one of these contractors has a facility there on that road. Stelter, Haas, Todd's, they all do. Well, Todd's is Milestone. That's just their concrete division, let's say. The Todd's material would be the closest. They're literally just north of Sand Creek by Wcha, in between Dallas and Wcha. That's where their quarry is. We got that material last year. They did haul it to us. Their particular material is not to spec, DOT spec. It still works. Instead of 1 1/4, it might be a 1 inch material. But based on that cost for Haas to haul it to us, we can't beat that. Like I said, internally, we can't even haul it to ourselves that cheap.
make a motion to go with Haas for the project.
Have a motion. Second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes. Real estate consultant.
So this is a solicitation that I did for real estate acquisition services for our County Road B project. Both projects south of I-94 and north of I-94. So I had to differentiate them into two different projects. I received one proposal from Core Engineering. We have worked with Core multiple occasions. They are actually doing the real estate acquisition for our County Road H project north of Elk Mound. Good company to work with. The other local real estate firm I did contact, they did call me and said that they were not going to submit a proposal. They did have some turnover and they just don't feel they have the staff capable of providing enough staff for this project. So I don't have any other costs to compare. The only thing I can kind of compare it to is our County Road H project real estate acquisition. And this was a little bit, I think this will be a little bit more extensive than our H project, just with sales studies, commercial properties, dealing with all that. Our H project was right around that $20,000. So this is 29 is what their proposal was. I don't think it's out of the realm of what it should be.
Yeah,
So
my sense of having seen a lot of core proposals at this point is that they're always right in line with.
Yes, yep. So like I said, that's something we need to do. They would have to provide the real estate acquisition conversation with Quick Trip and Walmart and all that. So I'll let them deal with that. They're good at it.
Okay, so motion by Randy,
Seconded.
second by Chuck. Any further discussion?
The only thing I'd say is I like the sound that you looked out somebody else also.
Yeah, like I said, there's typically two firms in the Eau Claire, Menominee area, and I reached out to both of them and one provided a cost.
All righty, all in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes. That brings us to the bottom of our agenda. Consideration of resolutions and ordinances to be recommended to the county board. None. Our next meeting date will be May 11th. We will see what the committee looks like at that point.
And I guess I would love to thank Dave and Chuck
Yes.
for all your service to Dunn County. I don't want to see you guys leave. I really don't.
No.
But I just want to wish you guys the best of luck and say a great gratitude of thank you.
Well, we know who to call when our roads are taken care of.
That's if I answer my phone. Just kidding.
I'm gonna call the chair.
Yeah, definitely
No,
agreed on the
I've
thank
enjoyed
you.
it. It's been good.
All right, I am going to go ahead and adjourn us so we can stop recording.
Yeah.